ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। The Shanti mantra, which is right in the beginning. Om apyayantu mamangani vak pranaschakshuhu shrotramatho balamindriyani cha sarvani sarvam brahma upanishadam maham brahma nirakuryam mama brahma nirakarot अनिराकरणं मेस्तु अनिराकरणं मेस्तु तदात्मनि निरते य उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। We have seen till the 5th mantra of Kenopanishad. One common theme that is being drawn, that if we step out and watch the logic as it is evolving, the student has asked something very specific. And the teacher, using the same vocabulary of the student, has given a pointer rather than that which has been specifically asked. This is usually the style of Upanishad, wherein the pointers and indicators are given, the effort has to be the individual's. It cannot be that the teacher spoon feeds us students all the way up there. They are not going to do that. Why not? Any kind of spoon feeding is going to only take that entire process for granted, and the individual that has to strive will never grow from within. The growth will be stunted. So a pointer is given, a direction is given. Now the effort to follow through that direction has to be the students. And in all these pointers, what is the teacher trying to point at? Without saying something, he has already indicated. Sometimes we come across people that when you're trying to be discreet and say something, it's like a open gathering, everybody is there, and you're trying to hint without saying it and trying to point at it without saying it. And there are these, I don't know, I may be too harsh in saying manda buddhi. Manda buddhi, dull witted. No, I get that, but what exactly do you want to say? Can you come out and say it clearly? And you are like, dude, uh, if I wanted to, I would have already stated that. This environment doesn't allow me to say it. No, I get that. What did you want to say? You feel like reaching across the table and smacking them. The pointers have to be taken very seriously. You cannot take it lightly. That when the teacher is giving you a hint, sometimes they show it in the movies, right? The teacher is trying to be discreet, and you also think that you are something to be imitated. You also do in the other direction. It's not something that we are going to spar with, like, to go there. What is it that is being indicated here without stating it? Wherein the consistency that we see is, it is the eye of the eye, that which enables the eye to see. It is the taste of the taste, that because of which I can taste. Meaning, remove that one factor, all of these different equipments cannot function in that field. In fact, remove that one factor, what will be left is called a dead carcass. So that spark of life, that which enables, that which enlivens, that which equips these to function in their individual fields without any hindrance, without any disturbance. And that consistency is amazing. Usually we find as an equipment and the source that runs the equipment. How often do you have to charge your cell phones? Once every day at least. Sometimes if the model or that particular batch that you have is running crazy software or something, it keeps draining. You keep charging it. What happens when there is no charge? There is no functionality there. Similarly, without having to charge into any outlet, there is something that is constantly keeping this body, mind and intellect and equipment constant, consistent functioning in its field. That spark of life must have a source of life. So where are they pointing at? There is no physical plane or a physical relevant spot that they are trying to ask us to focus. Because it is not a particular place, it is not a particular space. With respect to your body, where do you start? Head or the toe? When they say head to toe, toe to head, where is the starting point? There cannot be a starting point because I'm equally present at the entire layer. I can feel, I can experience at the same time in different aspects of that body without having to move. Getting it? So it cannot be a particular point of reference. That where pointed at which the intellect comes to a spot or a logic having transcended which there is no more support of logic required. So in that same sequence, the next three mantras, I think three mantras, yes, next three mantras are giving a similar pointer. Repeat after me. Yat chakshusha na pashyati yena chakshugamshi pashyati. In English, that's okay. Yena chakshumshi pashyati tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidamupasate yachrotrena na shrunoti yena shrotramidam shrutam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidamupasate. The next one. Yat pranena praniti yena prana praniyate tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidamupasate. Yat chakshusha na pashyati yena chakshugamshi pashyati. That which cannot be perceived by the eye, but that because of which the eyes are able to perceive. Did I miss any syllable? Because suddenly everybody's, it was a nice moment. And the eyes were like everybody was seeing, and then everybody nodded their eyebrows. It like unison. That which cannot be seen by the eyes, but that because of which the eyes are able to see. If the eyes try to see it, if the mind tries to see it, it is something like, those white fluffy dogs, small short ones. The name starts with a P. Pomeranian dogs. Thank you. They are the funniest dumb dogs. But funny. Very funny to be with. Okay. Our satsang has been sanctified. So we have that particular Pomeranian dog, and poor things cannot reach their tail any which way if they have to scratch an itch. So what do? So they try catching their tail and turn. And it is almost like they're about to catch it. The moment they pounce. So for hours together, that's why I call it this as a little dumb. They keep going around and suddenly they pause. It's like a brilliance of intelligence suddenly flashing in their eyes. You can see it, that it understood something, it caught onto something. What does it do? Up until then it was going in this direction. Now it thinks maybe I should go in the other direction, and then goes in the other direction. Poor thing. I try to visualize myself in a position wherein there is an uh, intense urge for scratching that itchy portion, and I'm not able to reach it. That is called hell. That is called naraka. That it is right there, you're not able to reach, and then have you ever, do you have such unreachable spot? Man. Then I feel like a buffalo on Indian roads. Have you ever seen a buffalo in Indian roads? There are these lamp posts or wall. They go adjust their position to that lamp post, that particular part of the body which must be itchy, and then and constantly do that, and then you should see the satisfaction on their eyes. And poor things cannot speak, but they are very expressive. And poor this fellow dog cannot even do that. Our mind trying to turn around to catch its source. What happens the moment you turn? Whichever direction that the mind turns into, whichever logic, whichever sequencing that it turns into, that because of which the mind can put that sequence together, but cannot access through that sequence that which is enabling it to function. So, can it ever be experienced then? Therefore, it is said, stop being the equipment and observe the equipment. Don't be the equipment. Observe that equipment. It's a very tough job to do. To sit and observe something with minute details without commenting about it. I don't know which movie I was watching. It was about the shooters that stay on for a long period of time waiting for that particular target to move or walk to take a hit. Snipers. And when you look at their training process, they are right in the territory, the red zone, where there are all these people all around, and they have to find a spot wherein they cannot be identified and lie low. Like sometimes when I'm cooking and many of you are interested and say, somebody, where can I help? I said, okay, do this. And by the time I turn around, what happened? Oh, there was nothing happening, so I just left it there. Was that the part of the instruction? I don't know. You didn't tell me anything specific. The specificity was stay put and keep turning it. And I suddenly start applying our intelligence. When it was sniper, they're like, I've been sitting there, lying there for last 15 minutes, nothing moved, nothing happened. I thought I could take a break. Play a game. Or go around finding Pokemon Go, score some points, come back again, find my target. And I'm told sometimes they have to sit there, go through that process for 2-3 days in that same position without moving. What kind of focus must have been required? A focus wherein you are observing, but you are not processing it to be branding it. The moment we see something, the moment we grasp something, we immediately have to put a personal brand on it, a tag on it. And what is a tag? Oh, this is awesome. This was, I don't know what to put it in. I can put it in awesome or I can put it in good or bad category, but I didn't even understand what was happening there. Upanishad class, Upanishad class. When you are to that frustrating end wherein you don't even know whether to put it in this brand or that brand. The mind constantly seeks its validation in that branding. So to be able to observe and yet not comment on it. It's not like you have the mind running its commentary, but you are not saying it out. The mind is not running a commentary, therefore there is nothing to say out. You made an observation. The eyes have seen, ena chakshusha pashyati. But that whole process of viewing, seeing can happen only in the presence of. Do you want to do a quick experiment? Sort of, kind of. Can you both open that door and turn all these lights off? Awesome. There are two behind the door. Can you see anything? Turn on the lights, please. What, you thought your job was done? That because of which everything can be perceived in a very gross sense. It was this illumining objects. They were not functioning. I could not see. I don't know with the other ambient light outside. Maybe you could see a certain shade or aspect. I could see nothing. That because of whose presence that processing can happen. Remove that from the equation, there is absolutely no experience that can be experienced. That X factor is called Brahman. Where is that Brahman? Is it in a statue? Is it in a book? Now, some people worship statues, Vigraha. Some people worship fire. Some people worship a direction. Some people worship a book. Like, the Guru Granth Sahib. When you go to the Gurudwaras, there is no idol there. There is only a book. A book is worshipped. That can be a trigger. That can be a starting point. Because Upanishads take us beyond the realms of four walls where there is an incense and a light lit. But to focus on that which is able to perceive that lit environment. So from the most external, moving So from the external objects to the organs of perception, from the organs of perception to the mind, to the mind to the processor, which is the intellect. All of these processing, the moment you observe, it's almost like you become a integral part of every process, but you are still. Everything is happening in you and around you. If you can visualize it, if you are somebody who loves visualizing things, to get the concept. Sometimes they show these animated versions wherein they are going through this Kung Fu Panda, going through these iron fists and fireballs, and there's in a slow motion jumping through it, and it just moves by, and he's like with his jaw dropping and drooling, and he sees that, and it is moving, and he is there. Something like that. That you are there and all these are moving, but yet you are not the one moving. You are observing the movement. The moment your focus changes, it creates a matrix of its own confusion. The first time that I went in a train, oh, it was such a fun ride that I could never forget it. This I'm talking about 4.5 years old when. I still remember it very clearly, vividly. I sat in the train and I fought with everybody in that particular group to get a window seat, and jumped into that window seat. And if you have gone in the Indian Railways, one side there are 6 seats to sit, the other side there are only 2. So the fight was for that. And by the time I was 12 or 13, the fight was to get this side seat because this would be shorter and the height would not fit in. So sitting there in that individual seat, one thing that bogged me down was, whoa, cool. What was the cool aspect? Everything is moving fast in the opposite direction. What is actually moving? Are these things moving? It is the train in which I am sitting that is moving, which gives an apparent motion for the things that I am observing as if they are moving. Being in that train, to become observant in such a way that I see that world and its movement, I see the movement of the train as well, and yet know that these both comparative movements are only happening in my conscious recognition. And neither of these movements that I am. I don't know what I just said, but suddenly there was a spark of clarity flashing in the eyes. Oh, yeah, we get it. I'm glad you got it. Yena chakshugamshi na pashyati. Yena chakshugamshi pashyati. Yat chakshusha na pashyati. Yena shrotrena shrunoti. Yena shrotramidam shrutam. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi. Now what does it mean? Okay, let me cover the next one also. Yat pranena praniti yena prana praniyate. That because of which breathing happens. That because of whose presence breathing happens. Seeing happens. Listening happens. Meaning what? What is the sadhana here? You talked about that witnesshood where both sides of movements are being recognized, but I am not the movement, is the experience that I go through. How do I reach there? What is my doable today? This is where it gets interesting. The doables. The simple doable is that though we have to spend a certain time as our puja, japa and dhyana, once we are done with it, as I open myself up to the world of experiences, the first level of sadhana, go through every experience of life without liking or disliking it. Consciously go through every single experience of your next 1 week. Maintain a journal. I used to maintain a notebook wherein I had those score keep kind of the 4 lines and then 1 stroke. So every time I would pass a judgment of like and dislike, I would write those and keep striking. You know those little diaries that you get with time map on it. So this particular time, how many sets of 5? It was fun to watch because the more you become conscious, it seemed like in the beginning, it was throwing up more such patterns. Then I read somewhere very beautiful quotation that the waves are a distraction only when you are on the surface. Once you dwell deeper, there are no more waves that disturb you. Are you getting it? As you become one with your life and experience, one with that ocean, wherein you are not viewing it from the standpoint of the wave. Your perception has changed, wherein every experience, I have to go through it. Let me not see them through the shades of likes or dislikes. This is the entry point. First sadhana. Pay attention. The second sadhana looks similar, but it is not similar. The second sadhana is, after I have gone through that experience, to come out of the experience without allowing the mind to brand it as wow or yuck. Don't brand it either. How was it? An experience. And when Gurudev was talking on such note, somebody asked him, how would Swamiji define death as? And the most beautiful answer I've ever heard. He said, another passing moment of experience. Imagine that death also is the passing of another moment of experience where the matter is relieving itself. I thought it was very, vivid imagination wherein you're wearing a cloth or a, what do you call that, one piece. In a toe to neck, there is one piece that, onesie, jumpsuit, whatever, right? And it's made of satin cloth. So you unzip, and what happens? It just like falls down. So in Gurudev's standpoint, how was death? That the entire layer of matter dropping off, relieving itself, and it's another moment of experience. He was not speaking from the standpoint of being the body. He was talking from the standpoint of observing the body and its interaction with the outside world. Both interactions only at the layer of matter. So what is first sadhana? To get into the experience without likes or dislikes. You have your different zones that you work in. Many of you are students, so you have your dorm area, or what do you call the living space, dorm or apartment. That's one zone. Then you get into your college, university. There are study period when the hours there. Between that you have some gaps. So there's a pattern for it. Sometimes you go, there are certain times you go to the lunch, certain times you go to the library, certain times you go to the coffee place. I don't know, where else do you go, guys? Give me options. Now class, in between class, another class? Oh yeah, very important. Input output devices, bathroom. Say different experiences that you go through, not from a prefixed or a prejudiced mindset. I had to go to this class again. He bores me to death. You've already created an opinion. You have already created that prejudiced thought reliving itself. And before even that experience could even touch us consciously, we have branded it with our likes and dislikes. After you have gone through, don't try to evaluate from standpoint of good or bad or right or wrong. Don't evaluate it from branding perspective. Always try to go through the experience from the standpoint of a learning step. What was it that I had something new to experience? If we can sustain ourselves over a long period of practice to go through life, this close watch over it, one thing that you can observe, that your lethargy vanishes. Second, your rate at which you make mistakes, it falls down quite significantly. Why do mistakes happen? Whenever you lose sight of your focal point. When your focus is off, that is when mistakes happen. And when you're so alert before, during and after to make sure that it is not creating any layers of branding. The third thing happens. What is the third thing? That experience, you start seeing things which you were not very conscious of. It's like somebody who cleaned your glasses. You've been working and there were stains and fingerprints and things in it. And sometimes when you get habituated to glasses, then you don't observe. And then somebody looked at it and borrowed it from you, cleaned it and put it back. And then suddenly say, oh yeah, I can see better, clear colors. Something like that. Or the same external scenario after a fresh rain. Have you noticed the change? When after the rain, when you go outside and observe the nature, the colors, the green looks fresher. The green looks even more greener. I have one of my friends, a photographer, a cinematographer actually. So he said that happens because all the dust that settles on these layers gets washed away, and the truer colors which are hidden behind the thin layer of dust is revealed. And that's where you feel that color is intense. Otherwise it becomes dull. And that is when you start exploring newer sense of contentment and satisfaction through those experiences. When you start finding contentment and fulfillment in those experiences, the revulsion towards the repulsion towards the experience, because it is my own life, my own experience, that repulsion is completely washed out. This Bhagavan Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says is a person who is sinless. And which reminds me of one other person maybe we have experienced looking at them. Such people are the young kids. What is the most attractive part of seeing a young toddler who's still on that, what do you call that, the prison? No. Crib. Crib. When you take a peek at them, what is it that catches your attention immediately? Asking you a question. The smile and the eyes. There is such immense akarshana, the attraction in that eyes, because there is no schemer behind those eyes. Have you seen that when you take something away from their presence, they may cry, they may make little restlessness. But pretty soon when they are into a newer environment, they adapt themselves as if nothing had happened. They're able to move on, move forward, because there is nothing that they're holding on to. Where are we held up? And I went to this and that whole thing, it sucked. We have this, entitlement that every experience out there should bow down in giving me that satisfaction and joy. And when it does not match up to my expectations, I have the audacity to call that whole experience and environment as a bad one. If we can observe these two patterns. What are the two patterns? One is at the entry point of the experience. Refuse to look at it from the standpoint of like and dislike. And after you're done with the experience, refuse to create a commentary in your head. And with this Facebook, I tell you, now they've added more. They've added their emotions in there. Laugh, anger, frustration, just like. And that is what we want to do with everything in life. Another thing. Constantly we need to. Even if it is not something very pertinent to me. Somebody walking wearing some clothes. Not pretty, You're discussing, you're already branded. Does it really matter whether you brand, not brand? That commentary, is it even worth? Over a few months of such practice, we realize that we save on energy and time. As consciously, we have removed that unnecessary indulgence. And I see myself with more time. Whether I use it in the inside world or the outside world, productivity and satisfaction is thus guaranteed. Can you try attempting it next week? And tell me the results of it. How frustrating it was to make that observation. Because before you realize you're already indulging in it, then you are no more observing. It's only after a few hours that you say, "Arey, I just went through the whole things that were happening. I didn't even make a note." Don't get frustrated. Laugh at it. Okay, mind, that was quite challenging. Now let's try it again. Anything that can bring on a game mode where you can feel yourself to be entertained rather than carrying like your who's the fellow that carries the atlas, like the atlas carrying the load of it, and at that point somebody coming and telling you, "Smile please." You feel like, smile, smile. Don't you see what I'm carrying? It's not like Bhagavan has created that burden to be put on our head. We have allowed ourselves to carry that unnecessarily. That would be the sure key method to learn how to unwind and find peace within. That where there is peace, productivity is high. So it will benefit both inside world as well as the outside world. Therefore, in the Guru Stotra, they say that being with a guru is bhukti mukti pradatacha. Both aspects, both outside productivity and inside peace, you can find it. So this comes to the end of the first chapter. Now the teacher looks at all the students and asks some questions. So I will ask the same questions to all of you next week. And let's see how we answer and what the students answer. And what is the standpoint of evaluation from the teacher himself? What does he want to point at? What more subtle point does he want to point at? Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanta Shanta Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.